What's going on, everybody? Welcome into Blazers Uprise Live here on a Monday. Today, we're going to talk about what a successful season looks like for the Portland Trail Blazers. Last week, we talked about one skill that each Blazer needs to work on between now and the regular season. Now, we're just defining what success looks like. It can be for individual players. It can also be for, the team as a whole, trades, etc. What would a successful season look like? Obviously, we're going to be realistic. We're not going to sit here and say, a successful season would be the Portland Trail Blazers winning the 2025 NBA Finals, because that is not realistic, unfortunately.
What?
I know, man. I'm just a hater. But shout out to BetUS for sponsoring Blazers Uprise Live. And this is just going to be like one of the topics that we kind of use to ramp up the season now that we're in September. This is the first edition of Blazers Uprise Live in September. And I'm looking forward to having that conversation, man, because I think it could look different for different people. And I'm curious to see what chat has to say about what a successful season would look like for them. Because we know some people want to see this team push for a play-in. We know some people, a successful season would be them winning 18 games. But there's a lot of nuance that goes into this season beyond just the win-loss total that we're going to discuss. We're also going to talk about the WNBA to Portland. And we'll also talk about Jeremy Grant trades ranked in an article for Jeremy Grant trades from our friends over at Rip City Project. Eric, how was the start of your week and your month?
Oh, it wasn't too bad. Just worked. How about you?
Didn't work because Labor Day, so that was fun. I'm over at my mother's house right now. She is in Europe, so I'm over here. I got cats with me. One might make an appearance. I don't know. Had one right next to me, but no, man, just relaxing, enjoying my Monday. I needed a 3-day weekend, so this couldn't have come at a better time.
Yeah.
Chat, let us know how your weekend was. Eric, let's jump straight into it.
Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Appreciate you guys tuning in. If you watched our fantasy football live stream yesterday, shout out to you. I know we had problems getting it to update and all that, so it was a little botched, but it was fun nonetheless. Eric, are you feeling good about your team from that fantasy football draft?
I don't know if I'd say good, but I feel pretty decent about it.
I'm not feeling good because I got a couple of plans ruined, and I think I have a good team, but I drafted receivers with my first 4 picks, and people are being stingy on trades right now, so we'll see if I can actually make some progress like I normally do on the trade market. But speaking of making progress, Eric, there is a report that Portland is closing in on landing the WNBA's next expansion team for the 2026 WNBA season. The report indicates that I don't know how to say the name, Bathel family. It's the family that recently purchased the Portland Thorns women's soccer team. They would be the ownership group heading Portland getting a WNBA team. Now, there was rumblings a while ago, I don't know, in the past year, a few months ago, about Portland getting a WNBA team, and then those hopes kind of got dashed. I forget which expansion cities got announced, but it wasn't Portland. But now, I guess those hopes are real again, and Portland, of course, has a NBA stadium for them to play in. It's during the summer. And
I want to say it was San Francisco and Toronto or something like that.
Yeah, I forget. But now, with this rookie group of players that is pretty popular, you have the Angel Reese versus Caitlyn Clark debates. Seems like the WNBA is gaining more traction, which is maybe part of the reason why they're expanding, because I don't remember the last time they expanded before they went past 12 teams, but it seemed to be a little bit stagnant. In 2025, you got the Golden State Valkyries, which is a pretty cool name. So I assume that's San Francisco, and then Toronto is tipping off in 2026. So Portland would be the 15th team in the WNBA. How exciting is this news, Eric? Is this, we obviously covered the NBA. We don't talk much about the WNBA, but Portland has a great sports scene, and they support their women's sports. They support the Thorns, and I could see whatever Portland's WNBA team is, I could see them having a ton of support in summer months. What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it'll do better now than it would have back, when we had a team back in the day, in the infancy of the WNBA. It just wasn't as prominent or respected as it is now. You see a team like the Rip City Remix get a ton of support, had kind of like a cult following. You see, you mentioned the Thorns, even out by me, like the Hillsboro Hops, minor league baseball has a good turnout and stuff like that. I think this city, I've thought for a long time they could handle another one of the major sports, but as much of the other sports as we can get, the better, I think, and there's nothing wrong with that. And the WNBA is on fire right now. Actually, I couldn't believe there was only 12 teams. I knew there wasn't a ton of teams, but earlier in the season, it was why is Caitlyn Clark playing the same team every 3 games or something? And I was like, wow, there's only 12 teams. It seemed like there was more than that, but yeah, it's good that they're expanding, and I think you're right. I think Portland will do well. And I think it'll be welcomed here.
Yeah, absolutely. And chat, let me know what you would name the Portland WNBA team in the chat. I have no ideas, but you could probably come up with some cool names.
Well, speaking of names, that's the only reason why we didn't get a team previously when Golden State got announced. Because the potential owner wanted to go with the name Monarchs, I believe. And the WNBA didn't want any of their teams named after royalty or female. I don't know. They didn't want that for some reason, and the guy refused to budge on it, and so they're like, fine, we're not gonna give you a team then.
That's
and it all fell apart. Yeah, it's so stupid.
That's just silly. I didn't even know that. So Monarchs isn't even that good of a name. There's no alliteration to it. What's the connection to Portland, dude? That's like a auto-generated video game team name, man. So I think we can do a better job naming the team than that. So let me know in the chat. Portland Roses is one that I could see potentially being the team name. You got the Thorns and you got the Roses, right? Makes sense.
We were talking about, or not us, but back when there was a slight potential we could get a baseball team. We were talking about names, and I always liked maybe doing something a little different and calling them Rose City something. Rose City Roses probably doesn't make sense, but I think WNBA team called Rose City whatever. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. That would be kind of cool. It would have to have a good name on to it, because I think some names with that could sound a little corny, and some names could sound good. So it would just be finding the name to attach to that, right? Golden State Valkyries sounds sick to me, right? That's a sick team name, but I'm sure there's other names that if you attach to Golden State would not sound as good. So anyway, keep leaving your thoughts in the chat. Eric, favorites and least favorite. All right, so this is a segment we've been doing every Monday. What is your favorite thing and least favorite thing from this past weekend? Chat, let us know in the live chat. Eric, I'll start with you. Do you want to start with the negative or the positive?
Let's just get the negative out of the way. My least favorite thing is that there is literally nothing about the NBA right now. Like, there's nothing. And it's, I know football's starting, and that'll lead into my favorite thing. But yeah, it's so frustrating just not hearing any cool rumors, like nothing. Are we just gonna go into the season with the team we have right now? There's uh, this person always messages me about like all the time, just questioning what is the latest on the Lakers and Blazers talks or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, I don't know. Like I've heard like they're not even talking. Like there's nothing. Like there's not even anything I can tell you because nothing is happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the second there's any smoke, we will talk about it. Unfortunately, there is absolutely none. And it's just wildly different from last year when we were talking about the Dame saga, right? Now we got to go into streams trying to think of content. And listen, I've gotten a lot better at like thinking out a show when there's not much to talk about, right? We did one skill for each Blazer to improve on last week. Today we're going to define what a successful season looks like. So, we find ways to keep it fun. But man, just waiting for the season. And by the way, if you're a part of our Discord, you might have seen a schedule feed, and I got some ideas for next season. I'm not going to go into them yet, but if you look at that schedule feed, we're going to do some fun things with post-game shows this year. So you can go check that out. You can join our Discord by clicking the link in the description box below. We're trying to get it to 1,000 members so we can be like a community feed or whatever it's called on Discord. So you can help us out. We're at like 800 something right now. So make sure you join the Discord. We're going to do a lot in the Discord this year for post-game shows, and we will have more on that in the future. My least favorite thing, Eric. You know what? Before we get to that, shout out to Colonel Pancake's $10 donation. It says 17% of the WNBA's flagrant fouls this season have been committed against Caitlyn Clark. The Chicago Sky were responsible for 80% of the flagrants committed against Clark. It's kind of absurd to see that in numbers. Thank you, Pancakes, for the $10 donation. We appreciate it. Yeah, man, it's the stuff at the start of the season was kind of wild. It seems like it's died down, or at least the talk and discussion and attention it's gotten has died down. I'm not sure which one, because honestly, I haven't paid enough attention. But yeah, man, it was wild to see her come into the league, and it seemed like she had a massive target on her back, right? You don't see that with Wembanyama, right? And Wembanyama had a ton of hype. It's not like people were going out of their way to flagrantly foul him, so I thought that was interesting, man. I thought that was interesting.
Well, it was just yesterday. She got another person just going up the court, just hip checked her, like just runs right into her.
It's silly stuff.
Crazy.
Silly stuff. Yeah. You know what my least favorite thing was from this past weekend, Eric?
What's that?
So, in case you guys don't follow football at all, okay? If you guys don't follow football, there was a 49ers player, a rookie, that got shot. Basically, attempted robbery, gone wrong, got shot. If you want to know the details of the situation, you can look it up yourself. But, yeah, not good, right? So, as a Niner fan, absolutely hated to see that. Especially a rookie first-round pick. Sorry if you hear cats running around going crazy. They're wiling at the wrong time. But just sucked, right? I mean, you never want to see that for anyone. But, as a Niner fan, first-round pick gets shot. And that plus, like, I don't even know how to say the word, like, the politics on just the political arguments that immediately went into that. It's like nobody even cares that this dude got shot. They just care about arguing about the politics behind it, where you have a ton of incidents go on in blue cities and red states and all across the country. We have incidents like this. It's not like it's in any one spot, man. So it sucked that he got shot. And then how quickly people politicized it on Twitter drove me crazy, Eric, drove me crazy. And we don't talk about politics, and I'm not going to go into my political views, but it's just crazy how one incident happens and it's people saying, see, this confirms all my beliefs, and then, that's just the way it goes. So that was my least favorite thing from the weekend. That kind of pissed me off.
Dude, how lucky is Pearsall that it went clean through, didn't hit any... went through his chest, didn't hit any organs or vital things. Like, that's crazy.
Absolutely crazy. His return is gonna be hype, man, because you're like on the brink of your dream. Week 1 is in a week, right? You got to the NFL and then you have a flirt with death like that. Just almost tragic. Thank goodness he was okay, and man, he got lucky. And hey, he fought the dude essentially, and the dude got shot with his own gun. Apparently, a 17-year-old. So we might get demonetized if you're talking about shooting. I just thought about that, but yeah, man, I'm glad he's okay. It was not a good time to be on Twitter after it happened, but hopefully he's able to return this season, because that would be very exciting.
Yeah.
Your favorite thing from this past weekend?
It's just football in general. NFL starting this week. We got our fantasy draft that you mentioned earlier happened. That's one of my favorite evenings of the year. Is we're both nerds like that. We like that. That's like one of our favorite things, right? And so just having the fantasy draft, and then getting to watch some college football. And this is the last weekend for a while that we won't have NFL to watch as well. So just really cool to be able to watch some football. Now, for some of our fan base here, the game on Saturday probably was your least favorite thing of the weekend, because the Oregon Ducks did not play very well. But
I enjoyed that.
That might have been one of your favorites, right? Or I don't want to spoil it.
No, that was up there. I mean, I was just going to say, like, dude, 3-day weekend. I needed a 3-day weekend. And it's kind of like a 4-day weekend. I got like dental appointment tomorrow, and I take like sleep medicine for it. So, it's basically kind of like a 4-day weekend for me, which is great. I like long weekends. Long weekends are great. So that's my favorite thing, is just the weekend's still technically going on. Shout out to Labor Day. Shout out to all you people out there working hard, trying to make a living. And and it's like future weekends we got football, so I'm super excited about that as well. Before we jump into more, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this stream. You can get in on Blazers futures still at BetUS. Donovan Clingan, for example, over under 6.5 rebounds per game. Do you have a bold prediction for either the over or the under? Well, you can get in on the action with BetUS by using my link in the description box below. And if you're watching after the stream, check out the comment section for that link. And that link will give you a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits up to $2,000. Local regulations apply. You can get in on NFL. We've been talking about it. It's starting. You can get in on week 1 spread lines. You got a Thursday game, a Friday game, a bunch of Sunday games, and then our Niners, Eric, playing on Monday night. So if you guys want to get in on week 1 action, have some fun with that. And you can bet on NFL futures as well. They have a bunch of different stuff, so you can make it fun, enjoy your time with sports, bet responsibly, all that good stuff. But have some fun with it. Shout out to BetUS for sponsoring this show, and shout out to them for providing our spreads this year for picks against the spread. I'm excited to get back into that. So clicking that link supports them, supports us, supports the channel. Thank you to them for sponsoring this edition of Blazers Uprise Live.
Could you easily look up the Seattle Seahawks over under for wins this year? I'm curious. I know we got a lot of Seahawk fans, so
you can look it up, can't you?
Oh, I can. I didn't know if you were on the site.
No, I was not on the site. I was not on the site. I'll intro this. You look this up and you type it in chat. How about that?
All right.
Alrighty. So Now let's get into the main topic for this show, which is, what does a successful season look like for the Portland Trail Blazers? Before we talk about this, though, shout out to Braden Tennis for $2 donation. Any word on Blazers streaming options yet? Sounds like it's going to be Fox 12 and CW on top of a direct-to-consumer option that I think they're still working out, and that's why it hasn't been announced yet. But CW and Fox 12 is a huge win for being able to watch it on YouTube TV or other streaming services. So it's going to be an upgrade, which it was basically impossible to downgrade. Thank you for the donation.
Yeah, I've heard that they're very particular about whatever they go with, making sure it's available on YouTube TV.
Yeah. Yep. Because it's the best streaming TV service out there. I mean, Fubo is not
the NFL package is now on there too, so now that the NFL is about to start.
Yeah, I got Red Zone on my YouTube TV. Now I get to have my Blazers on my YouTube TV. I don't have to pay for no Fubo TV. It's good, man. It's good. So the first step of success was getting a better TV deal, right, Eric? Well, we're already successful in that regard, and that was a big deal for some people. So that's a huge win, and we'll see what the direct-to-consumer option looks like. But beyond that, obviously expectations are low for this season, but that doesn't mean this season cannot be successful in terms of furthering the Blazers along their path that hopefully ends in a championship one day. This path is a multi-year process, and this is going to be one of the years in that process. So, what does success look like? How would you define success in a season like this where the Blazers are predicted to finish last in the Western Conference? Chat, let me know your thoughts in the chat. We'll read some of them off. But Eric, how would you define success this season?
This is one of those seasons where I don't think the win total will define it at all. I don't really care how many games they win, other than, of course, if we're one of the worst teams, we'll be talking about lottery odds and things like that again. But I mean, best case scenario, we're tied with two other teams at a 14% chance for that. So I don't think that's necessarily successful just doing that. So for me, it's three players in particular. If the Blazers have a successful season, in my mind, it's that Scoot looks like the long-term answer at point guard like we thought he would be when he was drafted. Not necessarily like stat-wise, just looks more comfortable out there, looks like a bona fide NBA level starting point guard. Sharp is healthy and starts to play consistently. Hopefully shows that his shooting splits from last year were just because of the injury and small sample size. But yeah, Scoot looking like a legitimate point guard. Sharp taking that next step as a quality starting player. And then Donovan Clingan having an impact on our defense and allowing our guards to kind of focus on the offensive end because we have that defensive anchor that we've been missing for a long time now. So those three things, if we're sitting here at the end of the season saying, all right, Scoot's our long-term point guard, Sharp is our long-term shooting guard / small forward, whatever, and Donovan Clingan's going to be a problem on the defensive end, I think it's a successful season no matter what our record is.
Yeah, and I think it's easy to kind of go in a conversation like this and just think about it in terms of like, yeah, these players playing well, or, you know, everybody on the team playing well, or, you know, we talked about one skill that every Blazer needs to improve upon between now and the start of the season, and obviously them doing that would be successful. Some players being more important. For me, I'm thinking about it in terms of kind of identity. right? Because the Blazers don't have an identity. We've talked about this being a lame duck year for Chauncey Billups. We've talked about their lack of offensive identity. They want to be a fast-paced team, supposedly, but they struggle to get out and run for some reason, right? They want to be a gritty, feisty defensive team that nobody wants to play, but they play drop scheme most of the time, right? And it's basically all the verbiage, all the wording about what they say their identity is doesn't really match the product on the court. Now, I think it would be a success if Chauncey Billups was gone at the end of the season, so it's kind of tough to go into the season saying success would be Chauncey Billups doing a better job, but they might lose enough games and he might be tired enough of this situation where even if they make steps towards some sort of identity, he still may be out, especially with the new assistant coaches that were brought in underneath him. I think one of the biggest things, successful things this year would be, and somebody said it in chat, or maybe you said it, establishing the core. Okay? Establishing the core is very important. And to me, that doesn't necessarily mean Scoot has to be a legitimate starting caliber point guard this year. He just needs to take legitimate steps because he really struggled last year but improved. As long as he keeps improving at the rate he did the second half of last season, then I think he'll be on his way towards being a legit NBA starting point guard, and he's still only 20 years old, so he has some time. He has 4, 5, 6 years before his prime. So I want to see legitimate steps from him, and obviously Shane Sharp being healthy and being more efficient than he was last year. All that stuff would be very important for a successful season, even while the Blazers lose games. But I would like to see them, beyond just establish the core, establish the style of play within that core. Are they actually going to be a fast-paced team? I think they should be. Denny Avdia can handle the ball in the open court. You got 3 guards that you're building around right now. You got Jeremy Grant, who can even handle the ball in the open court a little bit and can run and is a decent athlete. You got athletes on this team, right? So you can't go into the season saying, we want to play fast, we want to play up tempo, and then play at one of the slowest tempos in the league. So establishing that offensive and defensive identity will be huge. We talked about it a lot on post-game shows last year. Like, what do you expect from this team in terms of a style of play night in, night out? And what did we say? ISO-heavy half-court offense and drop scheme defensively. Now, if Donovan Clingan is legitimate in drop scheme is their defensive identity with Donovan Clingan and he's good enough at running it, that's completely fine. But you can't go into the season saying, we want to be gritty, we want to be the team nobody wants to play, but then just run drop scheme with DeAndre Ayton when that maybe isn't even his best pick-and-roll coverage, right? And then just provide token pressure that, in the NBA it's tough to base a defense around picking up full court. So that identity defensively, if they're really embracing drop scheme, which the draft selection of Donovan Clingan suggests they are, okay, that's going to be your identity. Hopefully Donovan Clingan can be the starting center of the future then because he's a drop big man. But offensively, I think they got to move the ball more. They got to get out and run. And I think seeing them take steps towards doing that more consistently would be huge. I don't expect them to do it game in, game out with how bad they're going to be. But if it's, if there's a night where they're super stagnant and ISO heavy, but we're talking about it as, just one of those nights where they're super stagnant and ISO heavy, not this happens every game and we have the lowest assist percentage in the league like we did last year, then that would be a success. Just seeing signs of offense beyond just, we're going to spam Jeremy Grant in isolation situations. We're going to spam Anthony Simons in ISOs and pick and roll. And then we're going to have DeAndre Ayton shoot 8 mid-range shots a game or whatever the hell he was shooting the second half of the season. Like, establishing some sort of offensive identity would be a big thing for success, because even if Chauncey isn't here going forward, it might be one of his assistants that replaces him. So if one of his assistants can help him establish a better offense, that's going to mean it's not as bad if Chauncey returns because he's going to return with the same assistants. B, if maybe one of these assistants is the right future coach for the Portland Trail Blazers and they let Chauncey walk and hire one of these assistants. So I'm just looking at it in terms of how they play on a night in, night out basis might not translate to them winning a bunch more games. It should translate to them being a better basketball team, maybe winning a few more games if they play a better style of offense and, have a consistent defensive identity that these young players can improve defensively within the structure of the defense. Sure, yeah, they might win, 26 games instead of 22. But I think that would be huge going forwards because you're actually progressing towards a style of play that you're going to need to play in the playoffs because you can't get by offensively playing iso ball, having stagnant offense, not moving the ball. You just can't do it in the playoffs. We've seen the offense regress all the time with Dame, and, it would be a top 5 offense in the regular season. You get into the playoffs, and it'd be a bottom half offense out of the 16 playoff teams. You'd see the offense regress time and time again once it got to the postseason. So I think that's the biggest thing for me, beyond just the individual stuff, is just forging an identity on both sides of the floor. And then, of course, your identity is also going to be your core. So what guys step up? Do we have a resolution to what we think the 3 guards or 2 guards out of the 3 need to be going forward? If Scoot and Sharp play so well that it makes it obvious that we should trade Anthony Simons, that's probably a good thing. If Anthony Simons becomes an all-star caliber player and Sharp is legit and Scoot struggles a little bit, that still could be a good thing. But I think making progress towards identity, establishing the core, and part of establishing the core is figuring out what they're going to do in the future with their guards. I think that's what a successful season looks like to me.
So you kind of touched upon this, but you're not worried at all about forming an identity and then all of a sudden next year there's a different coach, a new staff maybe, and then you have to form that identity again?
No, because they have to learn how to play off each other, right? And I don't know, man. The sets they run under Chauncey Billups just seem basic to me. They don't seem to run complicated offense. And I think Chauncey thinks it's complicated, but I think compared to other offenses in the league, what they seem to run is very, very basic. Or it just looks very, very basic because they can't figure out how to teach it properly and the players can't figure out how to run it. And that's why they're last in assist percentage and very ISO heavy, where Chauncey's just spamming Jeremy Grant ISO possession after ISO possession. So if they move the ball more, if they run better sets and they actually can teach these young players how to execute some more complicated offense, even if you replace the coach, that's good things for this young core to learn, and it's good habits to build. So even if you replace the coach with hopefully a better coach that can teach that stuff and help this team have that identity in the future, you got to take steps towards it. I don't think just them struggling in that regard, them replacing the coach is a better alternative. I think these young guys need to start picking up on some better habits than just, we're going to watch Jeremy Grant ISO 3 possessions in a row, and then we're just going to walk the ball up the court. Guys aren't running. Guys aren't filling lanes. And if somebody's pushing the ball, it's kind of, just put the head down, drive into 2 defenders in transition, don't make the right read, etc. There's a lot of bad habits I feel like this team had last season, especially the young players, which is okay given that you have a rookie, Scoot Henderson, a second-year Shaedon Sharp, etc. But you saw some of these veterans as well have those same bad habits. So I think breaking those, even if Chauncey gets replaced next offseason, is still a good thing.
Yeah, my number one thing in terms of breaking bad habits, it's not just Scoot, it's our whole transition defense. It was so pathetic last year. Even on made baskets, we often got beat down the court. Just simple, not getting back fast enough. How is that not a point of emphasis from the coaching staff, and how is that not looking better at the end of the season instead of worse like it did at the end of last season?
Yeah, that's another way to define success. They're going to have warts at the start of the season. Improving upon those is a good thing, right? And even if you take good players out of the lineup, whether it's trading some veterans at the trade deadline and making the team worse that way, you'll still be able to tell, okay, are these younger guys making the same mistakes they were making at the start of the year? Is Scoot still struggling to get back on defense? If he's improving in that regard, sure, the team might be worse because you might trade Jeremy Grant, might trade DeAndre Ayton, might trade Anthony Simons, but in terms of evaluating the core itself, are the guys that are going to be here for the long run, are they improving upon the flaws that they have? And they absolutely should. And I hate the excuse that's been given to this team in the past where it's, well, they're young and they're not that good. What do you expect? No, they need to build good habits. They can be a bad team, but build good habits. It's not, it's not like those two things go against each other. And especially if you're a team struggling at the start of the year, you have more room for improvement than anyone. So I think improving over the course of the season would be another way that you could define success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know. I'm looking forward to this season, even though we're going to be bad.
Yeah. Another thing, and you kind of hinted at this in a way, but playing hard consistently. Because there seemed to be selective nights where this team would play harder, and there's a lot of people said, oh, these guys play hard for Chauncey Billups. I didn't share that same sentiment, and part of why I didn't share that same sentiment is what you touched upon, the transition defense, and how many times you saw guys just kind of jogging back, just not playing hard, and you just have nights where this team would come out and lose by, we had 2 60-point losses last year? That's disgusting. That's terrible, right? No matter how bad you are and how good the other team is, you should never lose by 60 in the NBA. Like it's
Thanks for clarifying that.
It's beyond just a talent thing for me. You know what I mean? So there's just nights where they were clearly not mentally prepared to compete enough to not lose by 60, right? There's games where they maybe lost by 20 because of talent, where they competed, which is fine. You're not expecting them to necessarily stick with the Boston Celtics or stick with some of the best teams in the league. But they did have performances where they could, when they were mentally ready to play. And, in Boston last year, I believe it was in Boston last year, they took the Celtics to the wire in the fourth quarter. That was, I forget. I think that was the day I went to the Nike employee store. I forget. I think that was a post-game show I wasn't on. But they had a couple performances last year. One against Denver stands out to me, where they're competitive, and they lost by 60 plus to OKC around the new year, and then they responded well. And Chauncey Billups talked about how they responded well.
Can't trade anyone.
Yeah, after that 62-point loss, it's like, okay, well, why do you need a 62-point loss to get you in the right headspace as a team in order to bounce back? Like, you should have never had that happen in the first place. And I just think, which is maybe to be expected with a young team, but I just think they were kind of mentally inconsistent last year, and the effort was inconsistent last year. So improving in those two regards would be great. Like, we better not lose by 60 this year. I expect them to lose maybe 60 games, but we better not lose a game by 60 points.
Elizabeth Allen had some good comments earlier. One was that having a system/identity makes tanking a lot more enjoyable and makes for more wins in development, and wins in quotes. So developmental wins. And then also that when you know exactly what you need for that identity and system, it makes identifying those players, whether it be draft or free agency or whatever, a lot easier if you know what kind of players you need. Because right now, this last offseason, not that it matters, because we, for some reason, don't ever try to sign free agents anyway. But what you can identify things that you think we need, like rim protection or whatever, and that's what they did when they went out and got Donovan Clingan. But that's not fitting it to an identity. That's just we suck at rim protection, let's go get a rim protector. When you have an identity or a system, you find players that you think would be good in that system, and you bring them in, and you have all kinds of players that can play well in that system, not just we have a need, let's go get this guy who can do that, because that might fill one gap, but it doesn't necessarily fit your entire system.
Yeah, I mean, to play devil's advocate, there is something to be said about, they're rebuilding, they're collecting young talent, and the identity of the team should fit its personnel. But at the same time, the identity should never be, we're going to be the most stagnant team in the league. And there were some bad offenses, bad teams that were near the top of the league in assist percentage. And that's not assists per game, right? Because the better shooting teams will get more assists per game naturally. But assist percentage, which is the number of makes that were assisted upon. We had the highest percentage of makes that were not assisted, which shouldn't be the case with our talent. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, it's something where we should be playing off each other more than a team that can just spam Luka Doncic in isolations, right? But that wasn't the case. So, yeah, ultimately, I think the biggest identity thing is offensively. But I do get your point, because it was like, okay, we say we want to be a gritty team. Chauncey Billups came in like hedging, trapping a lot of pick and rolls, right? But then last year we were running a lot of drop scheme. It's like, oh, is that all he thinks Ayton can execute properly, or that he doesn't think the guards can execute properly? Like, what's the difference? What changed? And then we draft Donovan Clingan. It's like, oh, I guess our identity is going to be that we're a drop scheme team. So We'll see, man, but this is just a lot of the narratives that go into next season that makes it interesting to watch beyond just rooting for wins and losses. And I think you have to find intrigue in the narratives to be able to like watch this team next year. And if you're just watching to see if they win or lose, and then after they lose a bunch, you get checked out, like, yeah, that's what's going to happen. You're going to get checked out. It's going to be hard to care. But there's a lot to watch on a night in, night out basis for all 82 games this upcoming season. And that's what keeps us coming back with a post-game show every night, even when we're tanking, that runs 2 hours long. And that's why we're able to talk about it, because there's just a lot of nuance, a lot of narratives that go into this upcoming season beyond just the results of each game.
And I think we can all agree that Chauncey's stay here needs to be relatively short moving forward. But, like, it's another thing for this season. If he's here the entire year, I don't want to freaking hear him talk about how this is how I want the team to play and then not do it. You know what I mean? Like, just play like the exact opposite of what he preaches. You mentioned he wants to be a fast tempo team. He wants to get out and hassle guards on the perimeter and be scrappy on defense, and then just like run drop and conservative defense, and then not run at all. Like, dude, either shut up and stop saying that this is what you want, or freaking coach your team to do what you want them to do on the court. And if you can't handle that, just stop being a coach, because like it's freaking ridiculous. So if I hear Chauncey all season like, oh, well, yeah, I mean, I'm coaching these guys really hard. I'm trying to get them to do this, but they just won't. You know, like no, dude. Like, you've had this will be your 4th year, dude. Like, if you can't do that, it's ridiculous. So, like, to me, it's going to look bad that we kept Chauncey this year if we're going through that same crap all year, where he's saying the right things, but it never translates to the court product.
And here's the thing. It seems like he has a teaching issue. Or maybe he's not as strong of a teacher as other NBA coaches.
It's just complex, though. Right?
But here's the thing. Okay, there's a bunch of people in the chat saying, oh, that's for sure going to happen again. I am not sitting here thinking that's for sure going to happen again, because he has new assistants. And the hope is that these assistants can do a better job of coaching and teaching these players than Chauncey and his assistants have in the past, right? Like, there's no excuse beyond this year. You brought in a whole new assistant coaching staff, and if everything goes the exact same, well, what is the common denominator? It's Chauncey Billups, because you've literally reshuffled everything. Mm-hmm. And you should be able to make progress with your young core getting a year older, right? So I think this is put up or shut up year for Chauncey. He has new assistants. If these assistants and Chauncey can't get anything more out of this team than they showed last year, where it's just like, yeah, we want to play this way, but we're the 5th slowest team in the league, even though we want to run. If something like that happens this year, that's a major issue to me, because that just shows that the head of the snake, the head coach, just can't instill any of what he wants to do on this team. And even if the team sucks, they're still a reflection of the coach in the way they try to play. Even if they fail at winning games that way, the way they try to play is a direct reflection of Chauncey's coaching. So if his words and his coaching don't match up, that's an issue to me. So we'll see. That's just another reason to watch night in, night out. Is Chauncey getting something out of this team? Are these assistant coaches getting something out of this team? Does the offense look different than last year?
I really wanted them to just change assistants last year, so we already could have seen a year of that, but it didn't happen. Still had Rodney and stuff on the team. But anyways, Jermaine says maybe Chauncey doesn't have the players to fit his style of play. I don't know if that's a joke or not, but that's exactly what was talking about earlier. Because we sat there and listened to Chauncey on media day, like, I finally got the players to play my type of basketball, and we were through with the burden of having to watch Dame score 32 points a game and completely take over games. Now we're free to do whatever we want on offense.
So, some of that is reading between the lines, but yeah,
I know, but like, that's what he made it seem like, but he's every media day he has said, I brought in we got some guys that are my type of guys, and then like 2 weeks into the season, he's saying like, oh yeah, like I don't know, these aren't the type of players that I want, like it's like. Dude, just
and listen. Let me add on to this. Let me add on to this. It's not like he comes out publicly and says that, but we hear stuff behind the scenes like, oh, he doesn't like this guy, he doesn't like that guy, he hates this guy, like, and who knows how legit it is. But he goes into last season acting like he has his type of players to play his style of play, and then nothing changes. One of the things on a whiteboard at the practice facility and training camp was play fast, and they have the pieces for an up-tempo style of play. Dame like playing in the half court. They bring in Scoot. They got Ant. They got Sharp, right? Like, Brogdon is fine pushing the ball up a little bit. He's not the quickest player, but I don't think necessarily speed directly translates to how fast you can play as a team in transition. But what was their pace last year? What was their... Let me find it. The Blazers' pace last season on offense was 21st. Or at least that's just their pace as a team. 21st. That's bottom 10. They should not have been bottom 10.
It was up higher, and it really trailed off as the season went on.
Yeah. And ball movement, right? You don't have Dame now. What about the ball movement? He was preaching that. They were the worst assist percentage team, as I said earlier. So, that's the thing is you have some bad offenses, man, that are near the top of the league. The highest assist percentage team was the Spurs last year, 71%. The next closest team was 67%. Guess what? That's Popovich's style of play. They still sucked, but they were the number one team in terms of assist percentage. Number two was Toronto, who was also a lottery team. So, that's why the whole personnel excuse for the style of play was just BS. And you heard Chauncey have quotes talking about, like, he needed Jeremy to, like, be aggressive to the point where Jeremy was uncomfortable with some of the shots he was taking. Chauncey implored that, and you'd see plays out of timeouts where the play is clearly just to isolate Jeremy Grant. But that's not what Chauncey says his style of offense is either. So I'm no more excuses,
Yeah.
So like I said, I don't know if that's a joke or not, but no more excuse. There's no more excuses in terms of progressing towards that. Whatever that is in terms of Chauncey's identity.
Yeah.
Anyway,
sure.
I think we did a pretty good job defining success. Mm-hmm. To finish the stream, we're going to react to an article, Eric. We're going to react to an article we like finishing off streams with. This is 4 Jeremy Grant trades ranked. What's funny is we're aggregating an aggregation article. So... Rip City Project, our guy Reese Coons over there at Rip City Project, has an article, and it starts off saying Bleacher Report's Greg Schwartz named every NBA team's top 3 realistic trade targets. Portland Trailblazers forward Jeremy Grant made multiple appearances. He's an ideal target for any team looking to add a tertiary piece to help put them over the top in hopes of making a deep playoff run. So he's ranking the trade packages that Greg Schwartz came up with, I believe. At 4, it's titled Clippers fill Paul George's void. And in this trade, Eric, at the end of this, we're going to say if we agree with the rankings of this trade or if we would rank one differently. Okay? At 4, the Clippers get Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray. The Blazers get Norman Powell, PJ Tucker, and a 2025 first-round pick. The OKC hold the right to swap the 2025 first-round pick included in the mock proposal. So this is basically OKC's 2025 first-round pick.
They cannot trade that pick because they owe OKC a 2026 first. So
yeah,
this trade isn't even valid. It's gonna piss me off.
They didn't get a wait. Let me look. Well, we'll just talk about the asset value and let me load up Real GM and double check. But Norman Powell, right? His bad contract. Imagine Cronin getting Norm back.
Well, it's got less years on it now.
Yeah, so now it's fine.
PJ Tucker will definitely want to be here.
Yeah, the Clippers can't trade this pick. You're right. So not only does this trade not work, but in terms of value, I mean, this is pretty bad. You're basically trading him for 2 pieces that are a part of your future, and you're trading. I mean, I don't really care for Chris Murray, but you did spend a first-round pick on him, and you're getting back probably the 28th to 30th pick.
Do you still have Real GM open?
Yeah.
Pretty close. Can they trade 2030 or 2031?
Yeah, like they better get 2030 or 2031, but I don't think the Clippers are close enough to a championship to give up an unprotected first for Jeremy.
Yeah.
But
I don't think so either, but I mean that's the only way I'm doing this trade if we're taking back Powell and Tucker.
Oh, absolutely. This better be the worst trade. At number 2.
Well, he ranked it 4th out of the.
Yeah, so that was 4. At number 3, the Atlanta Hawks get Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray, so same package. And we get back DeAndre Hunter, Garrison Matthews, and a 2025 first-round pick via the Lakers. I think this is slightly better because that pick is slightly better, but I do not want DeAndre Hunter. I know a lot of Blazer fans talk about wanting DeAndre Hunter. He's injury prone. He's not a future starting forward on this team. I would rather play Tamani Kamara ahead of him next year because Tamani Kamara is a much better defensive player than DeAndre Hunter is. DeAndre Hunter hasn't really panned out on the defensive end. He's okay, but he was thought to be a lockdown guy when they drafted him 4th. And he's paid $20 million a year over like the next 3 years. Why are you paying DeAndre Hunter $20 million a year? When you have Sharp, who might play some 3, Kamara, who plays 3, Denny can play the 3 or the 4, right? Doesn't make sense. And you're probably going to draft somebody that can play the 3 or the 4 in next year's draft. So DeAndre Hunter's not part of the future. I do not like that. Norman Powell's kind of on a similar contract, so that's the only reason why this trade is better, but I would not take this trade either, Eric.
Yeah. Hawks are just barely under the tax, so this puts them deep into the tax making this trade. I don't like this guy doing. No, this isn't Reese Coons. This is
Greg
who did
Schwartz.
he say? Greg Schwartz, yeah. Bleacher Report. So he has the Hawks going deep into the tax for Jeremy Grant.
Yeah.
Nearing the first apron. Okay.
Yeah.
So for me, if you're going to get a player that's on, I think Hunter still has 3 years left on his deal at least. I want players that have at least Denny Avdia potential, not players that are kind of mid on long-term contracts. So yeah, that's the exact kind of player I would avoid getting. Now, if you had to take him and you got compensated a little better in terms of pick value, then you maybe consider it. But I don't want to add any kind of long-term salary for a player that doesn't have fringe all-star potential if I don't have to.
Yeah, I'm not valuing a guy making over like $10 million in a trade back for Jeremy Grant unless he's a long-term starter. So like Norman Powell, obviously not going to value him, right? Like if I was a winning team that needed a scoring punch off the bench and had a good financial picture, then Norman Powell has some value, right? But like the Blazers in their position should not value any veteran player making over $10 million a year that is too old to be a future starter on this team or not good enough to be a starter on this team. DeAndre Hunter is young enough to be a part of this team going forward, but he's not good enough to be a future starting forward on this team. Just purely isn't. So, like, the contract itself isn't necessarily terrible. It's just terrible for what he'd be for the Blazers, in my opinion. And given his injury issues, because guys get injured here, unfortunately. That is what it is. The next trade number 2, the Lakers get Jeremy Grant, Chris Murray, and Delano Banton is thrown in, and the Blazers get back Rui Hachimura, Jared Vanderbilt, Gabe Vincent, and 2 first-round picks. See, this is much better to me because, like I said, I'm not valuing somebody that's not a future star on this team making over $10 million a year unless you could flip them, which you're not going to be able to flip DeAndre Hunter for really anything. You're not going to be able to flip Norman Powell. Rui Hachimura, you might be able to flip. So I don't value him for the Portland Trail Blazers. I value him going to another team and the Blazers maybe getting back, some draft capital or whatever they get back for flipping Rui. But 2 first-round picks, this is much better. So 2029, 2031 first-round picks, obviously the protections on them matter, but this is much better than the past 2 trades. This is a trade I'd do.
Yeah, depending on the protections, I would as well. I mean, I don't really. The only problem is, I think this. Let me figure this out real quick.
I don't know why. I don't know. It might not work, but in terms of the asset value, Eric.
Yeah. I just wonder why has this taken on.
Oh, are you talking about for us or for them? I thought you were talking about how it works. Yeah, I mean, the contracts are rough.
38 million or
we're trading Chris Murray and Banton.
We're giving up a little, about 34. So yeah, we're pushing the tax again.
I mean, yeah, you'd hope they flip Rui, right? So
yeah. Yep. I mean, if the problem with protecting those picks is they can't convey to the next year, so you're kind of screwed if you protect them potentially. So
they become a second round pick.
Yeah, or something like that.
Immediately, yeah.
See, I don't like that you could potentially not get any first round picks if they're both protected.
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to assume they'd be lightly protected at worst.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if they're lottery protected, I don't know, maybe not, but it's still, even if they're lottery protected, it's still better than the past 2 trades.
Yeah.
So now we move on to, hopefully this trade is good. The number 1 trade. I don't think it involves the Lakers because we already included the Lakers. So what team is it? I don't know yet. The Golden State Warriors. And the Brooklyn Nets. So guess what we're getting back? It should be pretty obvious. We're getting back 2 players, Eric. Can you guess both the players?
Well, I don't think Golden State would trade pods.
It's a 2 for 2 for 2 trade. Each team is trading.
Oh God.
Trading. No. Wait. Let me look. The Warriors are trading 3 players. The Nets are trading 1. The Blazers are trading 2. Let's see if you can guess the trade package. Who do the Warriors get?
Well, obviously the Warriors are getting Grant. I don't know. Oh, you said only 1 from the Nets, so someone else from
1
us.
from the Nets, 3 from the Warriors, 2 from the Blazers. Each team is getting 2 players.
Well, Chris Murray's been a throw-in on a bunch of trades so far, but I don't think the Warriors would want him. So it's got to be either Thibault or Robert Williams, right?
What's your guess?
Thibault.
Okay,
it's
Robert Williams. But so who are we getting?
Well, we're trading out then over 40 million. So My guess is Ben Simmons expiring.
Correct. And
There's no picks involved at all.
no.
Uh, so it's someone from the Warriors. And like I said, it's not going to be Pods, so it would have to be the worst case would be Moody, but since this is number one, I'm guessing that it's Kuminga.
Correct. And then the Nets are getting 2 Warriors players.
I mean, who do they have to trade? I guess it would have to be Wiggins, right?
Correct.
I don't know who the other person
Robert
would be.
Williams replaces Kevon Looney.
Okay.
So the Warriors trade Andrew Wiggins, Kevon Looney, and Kuminga for Grant and Williams. I feel like they don't do that, but maybe I'm wrong. The Blazers get back Kuminga and Ben Simmons for Jeremy Grant and Robert Williams III. Eric, should this be the number 1 rated package?
If the 2 Lakers picks are unprotected, that should be number 1. I'm so torn on Kuminga. I could see the vision in this trade. I could see it. And Simmons is a huge expiring, so you clear a ton of space moving forward. But then you have to pay Kuminga next summer. I think he's a free agent.
Yep.
So so I don't know. I could see the vision in doing this trade. I think Kuminga would, not shooting wise, but everything else, he's the kind of player we need. But that shooting's rough, man, when you combine him with potentially Scoot and all that. So I don't know. I'd probably do it, but yeah.
Oh, I mean, I think if there's any protections, like beyond like top 3 or 4 on the Lakers picks, I'd do this trade instead. Kuminga last year per 36 averaged 22 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, and 3 assists. Shot 58% from 2 on 13 2-point attempts per 36. Also got to the line 5.5 times per 36, shot 75% from the line. And for his career as a 34% three-point shooter, was 32% last year, was 37% the year before. It's one of those guys, Eric, where if he can become a solid shooter, I mean, he could be like the perfect player, I think, for this team. He's still only 21. He put up that production last year at the age of 21. I mean, I think there is a chance that he could be an all-star at least once in his career. How high is that chance? I don't know, but that is really good production for a 21-year-old. 22, 6.5, and a 3 and 3 assists per 36. Athletic. His defense might be a little bit overrated, but I mean,
I paid him a max though.
I am not paying him a max. So, but here's the thing too: if you extend him, you have Denny Avdia's contract kicking in, and it gets cheaper. Makes it a little bit easier to take on a piece like Kuminga. I don't know. Like, and here's the thing too: if you extend him, but you get lucky and get, I don't know, Cooper Flag or get a star forward, maybe Kuminga's the best forward off the bench in the league. You know what I mean? Like, you're talking about potentially a stacked bench with him.
$5 million off the bench.
I mean, it would be off the bench because you have Avdia, and I don't know, he might end up being better than Avdia, so you could bring Avdia's $15 million off the bench. I don't know, like he would be a really intriguing piece to add to this rebuild, and especially like you're getting back a big expiring in Ben Simmons that I don't care to play at all, but that would be interesting for sure.
Yeah, I don't mind it. I don't see the Warriors doing that though.
I don't see them doing it either.
And according to Draymond, him and Steph went to the front office and said not to trade Kuminga and Pods for a marketing or whatever. So
yeah,
believe that if you will.
Somebody said they used to say that about Poole too. Poole at 21 years of age had decent numbers, but the thing is he made a living off incredibly difficult shots that was kind of unsustainable. Kuminga is like an athletic freak, like downhill slasher. Like, he's not going to fall off because he doesn't need to shoot the 3-ball well like Poole does. Poole's 3 kind of fell off a bit, and his decision-making, he's like a lead ball handler type with shoddy decision-making. He was still that at 21 years of age. So they're just completely different archetypes. Kuminga's archetype tends to work out once they show this level of production, where like somebody like Poole is he's erratic as a lead ball handler type that makes some very questionable decisions.
We're finding out that same thing with Anthony Simons. Like, I mean, there's 20, 30 guys like that in the NBA that are guards that can score and stuff. It's much different when you're talking about wings that can do some of the things that some of these players can do.
Yep. Absolutely. Anyway, that's going to wrap up the stream. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Once again, shout out to BetUS for sponsoring the stream. You can get in on action like that. Klingen Graphics shows you over under 6.5 rebounds. Use the link in the description box below to sign up and get a 125% deposit bonus on your first 3 deposits, up to $2,000 with NFL season right around the corner. Thursday, we'll be able to react to the first day of football. I'm excited for that. Also, if you want to join a Dynasty Fantasy Football League, let me know. On Twitter or on Discord, you can join our Discord, link in the description box below. You can follow me on Twitter, DM me on Twitter. Our Twitters are linked in the description box below. Anything else, Eric?
Thanks everyone for joining us. Hope you have a good night. Hope to see you Thursday. And we can talk about something on Thursday that we ran out of time for today. But that's a certain hardwood paroxysm tweet. Matt Moore, I think is his name. Matt Moore. So ponder this until Thursday, everyone in chat. And Tori, would you prefer this offseason quiet, or would you prefer the offseason we had last year where the Blazers were at the center of attention for much of the offseason?
I would prefer it because, oh my goodness, the streams were popping, but I would prefer it not to be in the context of we're running our best player ever out of town.
Yeah. Well, let's go more in depth on that on Thursday.
Yeah, and maybe there will be some news across the NBA. Also, the Blazers' first preseason game is in Seattle, October 11th. Maybe they announce expansion then?
Yeah, I forgot if it was the Seattle mayor or someone in Seattle kind of slipped and said something about expansion coming soon. So that... I think is almost a foregone conclusion at this point.
Yeah. I might. So the Niners play in Seattle on October 10th, the day before.
Ooh, doubleheader. Nice.
I might fly up, which...
Fly?
Yes. I'm trying to get over my flight anxiety. And I might...
I mean, that's a good flight to take. Nice.
Yeah. Eric, I don't know how I'm going to be on a flight.
Yeah.
I might have a panic attack. I might be okay. I don't know. It kind of stresses me out a little bit even thinking about flying, bro. Saying that kind of stressed me out a little bit. So in case you guys don't know, I deal with flight anxiety. But I flew a lot as a kid, didn't have it. Just past 7-8 years developed it. So I'm trying to work on it. So I might do a vlog of being at the Portland Trailblazers first preseason game, but then also the takeoff, the flight anxiety part, just vlog it and say screw it and just see how it goes.
I will say, if you choose not to fly, if you get psyched out on it, Amtrak's not a bad way to go.
I need to get over my flight anxiety, man.
Yeah. No, that's good if you're trying to
But legitimately, just talking about it like that just stressed me out so much. It's not. I still got more work to do. Luckily, that's in over a month. I gotta see a therapist or something, dude. It's not good. So, yeah.
Well, good luck with that.
Boeing planes are perfectly safe. No worries. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Ed. But yeah, we'll see. I figured I'd start short,
Right.
short little flight. But
It's like, 25-minute flight.
yeah, 25, 30 minutes. So yeah, we'll see. Maybe I'll take a shot beforehand. Maybe I'll do that. Soothe the nerves, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna do it yet, but that would be a cool experience. Go to the Niner game, go to the Blazer preseason game the night after, and do a post game show for that from a hotel that's by the arena would be the goal there. That would be sick. But yeah. Anyway, anything else, sir?
Well, thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Yep. Appreciate BetUS for sponsoring the stream. We're out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night. We'll catch you again on Thursday, unless something happens. Just kidding. Nothing's going to happen. But yeah, we'll see you on Thursday with another edition of Blazers Uprise Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. We're out of here. Until next time, as always, peace out. Go Blazers!